Why does everyone in the observable universe hate Arsenal? Not only did Arsene Wenger bring in a bunch of black players from all over the world to represent Arsenal at a time when England was very skeptical of foreigners, he also revolutionized the Premier League with modern training, nutritional standards, and global scouting. And it was under his management that Arsenal became known as the club of the people and the streets. It deeply reflected London's diversity, particularly with the black diaspora. And controversially, at one point, Arsene Wenger featured no British players in the starting lineup. French guy in an English league fielding no British players, you have to respect him for that. Another good thing about Arsenal is aesthetically, their kits are very pleasing. Some of the retro kits they released are so stylish that they go beyond football. And you may have noticed that a lot of the good things I've mentioned are funneled through the Wenger era. And you know, it makes sense considering they named the club after him. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to the real point of this video. Why does everyone except Arsenal fans hate Arsenal so much? Well, it's simple. Arsenal fans are annoying. There, I said it. You can click off the video. If you got nothing else from this video, just take that. That's most of what I'm going to talk about. But there's a couple more things. But the main thing is Arsenal fans are just annoying. You cannot like someone that is annoying. Even if you cured every cancer in the entire world, if you're annoying, we're not gonna like you. We can't like you. I mean, thanks for the cure and whatnot, but we're not inviting you to the function, bro. Simple as that. And before Arsenal won the league this season, we were constantly subject to reminders of how great the Invincibles from like 20 years ago were. To be fair, that's pretty much all they had going for them besides the 100 million community shields they had. And so since they had nothing else to brag about as their club was falling off, the fans, as probably a biological coping mechanism, became delusional. Very delusional.
Right, who's winning Ballon d'Or this season?
Ballon d'Or?
Saka.
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice.
Ballon d'Or?
Yeah.
Declan Rice. It's got to be
But the second they were up, even just for a little bit, during their numerous failed title charges, they started talking crazy. Obviously, rival fans are never going to like the fans of another team. That just comes with the territory. But I genuinely believe the biggest reason that Arsenal is as hated as it is today is because of AFTV and other Arsenal fan media. AFTV is one of the biggest and hence one of the most visible fan media outlets. And I think a part of this hatred for Arsenal that isn't nearly mentioned enough is that because we are now in the social media era, everything that every Arsenal fan says on like TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or whatever is amplified 10 times. There's also this weird paradox when it comes to Arsenal fans. They want to act like the underdogs while at the same time being a part of the big boys. Like you can't have your cake and eat it. Lastly, I'm just going to name a couple of cringe things that they do that kind of, I guess, annoy people. It doesn't make people hate them, but it's just kind of annoying. They named their club dog Win, and you know, it makes sense now they've won the Premier League, but I'm pretty sure they've had that dog for like 3 years. So in the last 3 years before they won the Premier League, what was going on there? Were the naming papers still in process?
Edison invented the light bulb.
Another cringe moment is honestly the entire documentary they had, the All or Nothing one, but more specifically that Arteta light bulb clip. I'm gonna put the clip over here, but
Edison invented the light bulb.
yeah, that, bro, can't lie, I could talk about Arteta all day, but the light bulb clip I think is the worst. And then Declan Rice every single day.
Go insane. What the hell? Should we go with a new one? What the Chloe Kelly?
Look, he seems like a pretty calm guy, but I can't lie, he is cringe, bro. Like, he's pretty performative. It feels like he's always looking for the camera and he knows when he's being filmed, and that's when he puts on this act. But you know what? Fair play to the guy. At least he has a personality, unlike 90% of the Premier League robots we watch. Now, the next reason that people don't like Arsenal fans is a bit more serious, and it involves controversies and political stuff, the first of which being the Zinchenko situation. Around the time when Israel first launched their war against Gaza in 2022, Zinchenko posted the now infamous "I stand with Israel" slogan on his Instagram account. And look, I get why he did it. At the time, Ukraine was being invaded, or they are still being invaded by Russia, and Ukraine needs the US's support, and the US is Israel's dog or Israel's the US's dog, whichever way you want to look at it. However, as far as I know, he was the only Ukrainian player to openly support Israel after their invasion of Gaza. He faced no punishment from Arsenal. The second one is a bit more recent and is the situation with the kit man. Arsenal recently fired their former kit man Mark Bonnick for condemning Israel's genocide in Gaza. He worked there for 22 years, by the way, and since then he's had to take up a job as a laborer despite being 60 years old to support his family. However, Mark says he doesn't regret advocating for the right thing.
I don't regret speaking out about Palestine. I've never regretted it.
And before you say no politic here, no politic here, Israel has killed over 300 Palestinian footballs, so this is directly related to football. He is, however, suing them, and I hope he wins that lawsuit. Now, off the back of the last one, we have an even more recent one, and that is Arsenal's sponsorship deal with Deal. Funny enough, since firing Mark, Arsenal have partnered with an Israeli-American founded HR company. And the thing is, this kind of deal doesn't just happen overnight, so I wouldn't rule out the possibility that Mark was fired while this deal was happening behind the scenes. And to make matters even worse, the CEO of Deal has publicly exclaimed his support for Israel, and the company literally donates money to the IOF, who are Israel's army directly engaging in the genocide in Gaza. It seems in recent years, Arsenal has taken a more pro-Israel stance. Obviously, with the two things I mentioned before was Zinchenko and the kit man and Deal. But there's also this Arsenal fan who has publicly exclaimed that he's a proud Zionist who was somehow allowed a meet and greet in the tunnel with the Arsenal players at one of their games in the 25-26 season. I tried looking for the clip. I hope I find it before I, post this video. But if I don't, I'll put a picture of him up. Another political controversy that Arsenal had was a couple of years back now. I think it was during the early Arteta era, but as Mesut Ozil was being phased out of the club, he spoke up for the Uyghur Muslims in China while still being an Arsenal player, and surprise, surprise, pretty soon after that, he was out. Now, of course, it's never been officially confirmed if he was sold or let out of the club because of him speaking out, but many fans, even Arsenal fans, believe he was ousted for speaking up for them. And last, but definitely not least, was the Thomas Partey situation. Thomas Partey was publicly accused of rape and faced no consequences from Arsenal. In fact, he was allowed to play for Arsenal for, I believe, 2 or 3 years after the allegations, and it was continually protected by the club and also Arteta. Now, obviously, this is bad, but when you compare Arsenal and Arteta's treatment of Thomas Partey to the way Manchester City and even Manchester United handled the Greenwood and Benjamin Mendy situations respectively, it looks a lot worse because Benjamin Mendy was accused of rape in, was it 2020 or 2022, and was immediately suspended by the club. Same thing with Greenwood, I believe, or at the very least wasn't played by the manager. And finally, we've got on the pitch issues. In the last 2 to 3 years, Arsenal have essentially become set piece merchants. They literally play for corners. They play for corners so that they can foul the opposition players in the box, score, get away with it with no ramifications from VAR for the last 2 to 3 years. It seems Arsenal have lost their soul as a club. Yeah, Arsenal won the league, but at what cost? They're such a soulless team now. Arsenal used to be known for free-flowing attacking football, and now it's just 6-foot players set piece and inshallah.
Arsenal have scored 2 or more in their last 11 now competitions. And you sense they haven't finished yet. Here's Bellerin. Oh, so lets it run.
I was like, man, this is kind of good. I ain't even gonna lie.
From the diversity of the black and brown diaspora of London all around the world to Brexit hardball. I have a list of specific incidents, there's a lot by the way, where Arsenal were favored by the PGMOL they hate so much and VAR. Okay, there's 10 Gabriel ones, so I think I'll pick the worst one. Was the yellow card, I'd say the worst one was the handball that wasn't given. Can't remember the team, I'm not looking at the clip right now, but somehow that wasn't given as a penalty and he was already on a yellow card and he walked away scot-free. Another one, a more recent one, was the disallowed goal against West Ham, which basically sealed the league for them. If you watch the clip, you can literally see multiple Arsenal players committing fouls in the box, and Trossard, and I think Rice as well, are literally holding onto the West Ham player who is deemed to be committing the foul on David Raya, and the VAR just completely ignores it and cancels the goal out. I would have understood it more if West Ham didn't score from it and then they were just upset that they didn't get a penalty. I would have understood it a little bit more, but the fact that they scored and then VAR chalked the goal off, disgraceful.
It's embarrassing. It's a disgrace. That's what it is, a disgrace.
There was the Mikel Merino second yellow card he should have got. The Kai Havertz red card. Bro, Kai Havertz literally lunges with his studs into the back of this player's calf and he gets a yellow card. That is a textbook red card, and somehow he walked away almost scot-free. And the last thing about Arsenal that I personally hate is Mikel Arteta. I just think he's annoying. I think his face is annoying. I think the way he talks, the way he's always on the... He's never in his, his box, his manager box. He's basically on the pitch. There've been times where Arteta literally gestures towards the pitch when an opposition player is running and nothing. He's never in his he's always basically on the pitch. So yeah, man, those are just some of the reasons that people don't like Arsenal and more Arsenal fans, to be honest. But one thing I will say to Arsenal fans is enjoy your time in the sun. You did it. You won the league. Did you deserve it? No one ever does. You've been inching toward it for the last few years, and we as rival fans are just happy we got to see you fumble it spectacularly a couple of times before the inevitable. Don't expect a pat on the back or a well done from anyone else but each other, because you are not getting it. The 2025-2026 season might go down as the most damning for the PGMOL and VAR in Premier League history, and you can expect them to make major changes for their approach next season as a result. I promise you that. But most important, it's a World Cup year, so their Premier League win will most likely be overshadowed by that anyway. Plus, we'll all get the last laugh anyway when PSG whoops their asses in the UCL final.